So what's going on, guys? It's the Worst Duelist here. So today I'm actually coming at y'all with a rather long video. It's a format that I actually haven't tried before. I'm actually doing an archetype guide. This is for Nephthys, as you probably saw from the title, and could be the reason why you're here, or maybe you're just curious as to what the Nephthys archetype has to offer. So for this video, I'm going to break it up into a couple segments. The first segment being, what cards are in the Nephthys archetype. Starting with the first wave of quote-unquote support, I guess you could call it that, and then the stuff that we later on got through hidden summoners, and the newest support that we had through Phantom Rage. Seeing as how the conductor of Nephthys is out now, and that is what came out of Phantom Rage. It's really seems to be the only other piece of support that we're going to get for the foreseeable future, which is why I decided to put this video together anyway. We're going to do the deck profile. We're going to do the deck profile. After that, what I have built currently, my build that I like to play casually with my friends, and then we'll talk about other options that you can do, and then I can show a few combos, and then maybe some closing thoughts, and if I can get some gameplay, I'll include that before the closing thoughts as well. But I've never tried to record on EDO Pro either, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that being said, we can actually just, get right into it and see what the Nephthys archetype has to offer. Okay, so to start with the Nephthys card pool, I guess we'll begin with the first Nephthys monster that was ever released. It actually goes all the way back to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Core set Flaming Eternity, which the Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys was the cover card. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, upon its initial release, really didn't see a ton of competitive play. It had niche slots dedicated to it in, old like GOAT builds, etc. But there was quote combos that you could do with it, where you could play like Ring of Destruction and then burn, and then you could get it back on the next standby phase and attempt to blow up your opponent's back row. But the Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, as you can see, is a level 8 winged beast monster of fire type attribute with 2400 attack and 1600 defense. And what the card text states is, once returned during your next standby phase after this card was destroyed by card effect, you may special summon this card from your graveyard, and if you do, destroy all spell and traps on the field. So a rather slow effect, but at the time it was very powerful if you could pull it off. But like I said, that even then that was very few and far between. Today the Sacred Phoenix is generally an include in most builds, but that being said, you have a larger card pool for level 8 winged beasts now, as well as including a retrain of Sacred Phoenix, which you will get to later. So, alongside the Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, we had Hand of Nephthys released as well. Hand of Nephthys was a level 2 monster that was obviously meant for you to be able to normal summon, and then its effect includes special summoning Sacred Phoenix from the deck. It was supposed to be a way for you to easily get the Phoenix on board without drawing it and then attributing 2 monsters. So what the text actually exactly says is, you can attribute this card and one other monster, and you can special summon one Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys from your deck. Excuse me, that's hand or deck, but either way, people played this. It was something that was definitely done back in like 2004 or whatever. I think Flaming Eternity came out in. But like I said, again, this along with the Sacred Phoenix was pretty much just a very niche tech card that was kind of something that you could do. It was like heavy storms at 1, so it could possibly be a blowout, but it's just not as consistent as you'd like it to be. I mean, granted, special summoning was a mechanic that was very few and far between back in that time period. So the fact that it could get you a high level monster out off of something that simply just going like set Spirit Reaper or whatever, or turn 1, set like a Night Assailant or something, and then you could just normal summon this and get Sacred Phoenix out. That is pretty good. Nowadays, though, there really is no room for this card in the deck. It's just not good enough, seeing as how like summoning the Sacred Phoenix really just doesn't really give you anything. Also, the fact that you have to tribute 2 monsters is, most of the time just very neg. But moving on. So for the Hidden Summoners lineup of cards, starting with the regular effect monsters, we have Disciple of Nephthys. So Disciple of Nephthys is actually a great card for the Nephthys strategy. It's kind of one of your main consistency pieces. That being said, it does have its own inherent issues as well. But what the card actually says is it's a level 2 wind spellcaster with 0 attack and 2000 defense. That booty though. That being said, the card effect is once per turn you can destroy 1 card in your hand, and if you do, you can add 1 Nephthys monster from your deck to your hand. It's all one effect, There is no cost, which is very nice because it allows you to use certain things that would normally miss timing, which, you know, is good for when effects. They honestly just shouldn't exist. And the second effect states, during your next standby phase, if this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, then you can add one Nephthys, spell or trap from your deck to your hand. This is honestly very good for retrieving the ritual spell for a follow-up. Most of the Nephthys spell and traps are really just not that great. But Disciple being able to not only add consistency in the realm of adding your ritual monsters or really any piece that you're missing, and then later recurring if you can trigger that effect via other things that you can do to build with the deck, or just Nephthys effects as well, then, you know, it seems like a very solid 3 of, in my opinion, in any build, no matter how you look at it. Next up, we have the Matriarch of Nephthys. This is actually one of your best recovery / extender cards. It's very hard to pinpoint exactly what this effect is supposed to do because, again, it's very good for a follow-up, and it's also just very good for extension as well. So what the card actually says is, again, level 2 spellcaster, wind. I probably will stop saying that at this point because of the fact that that's quite obvious. All of the low-level Nephthys monsters are wind and spellcaster. Anyhow, 600 attack and 600 defense. The card's effect says, once per turn, you can destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, you can target one Nephthys monster other than Matriarch in your graveyard and special summon it. During your next standby phase, if this card was destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. It's really good. So this is a very easy, at least minimum 2 of. I play 1 in my current build just because of the way that I have it put together, but, you know, having 2 is very nice because obviously blowing it up off other Nephthys effects is very good to, you know, set up that follow-up, that recursion ability, and then also it can later extend you even more, and it works very well with specifically Devotee of Nephthys. Next up on the list of the main deck Nephthys monsters, we have Chronicler of Nephthys. Chronicler of Nephthys is, I don't really know how I feel about the card, but I'll just go over its effect really quick. It says, once per turn, you can target one Nephthys card in your graveyard, destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, you can add that card back to your hand. And then it says, during your next standby phase, if this card was destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can add one Nephthys card from your graveyard to your hand. Except Chronicler, of course. They all have the except clause, but yeah. So those last 3, the Disciple, the Matriarch, and the Chronicler, I think are the best regular plain effect monsters that Nephthys has, the non-rituals, I suppose. There is one other, it's fine, but I kind of lump it into the same kind of category as Hand, where I feel like the effect just isn't needed. It's far better than Hand of Nephthys, don't get me wrong, but the card I'm referencing is Defender of Nephthys. So Defender of Nephthys says that you can destroy one card in your hand, and if you do, you can special summon one Nephthys monster from your hand. So yes, it is an extender, but I feel like it doesn't add very much to what exactly you're trying to do, because really the deck is just focused on the ritual summoning. I just feel like that this card's effect just is kind of out of place, because it seems overall just very neg. I mean, there is ways for you to fix the fact that you have to blow up cards in your hand. Obviously, to activate all these cards, you have to deplete your hand, but I feel like this one just is some sort of really unneeded extender. But I'll go over the second effect as well. During your next standby phase, after this card was destroyed by card effect, you can destroy one Nephthys card in your deck. So again, it's like the second effect of all the Nephthys monsters is actually just very slow by nature, and this just adds to that same sort of slow style, because I mean, obviously you wait until your next standby phase, and then you have to destroy a card from your deck, which is cool because it will trigger its effect, but you have to wait another turn cycle to reap the benefits of that card's effect. And let's be honest, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Games aren't really going past turn 3, turn 4 if you're lucky, but I digress. So that's kind of why I kind of left that one towards the end. Just feel like it's kind of an out-of-place card in the archetype. This could have very easily been something that can search spells on board, which would be, you know, very welcome. I also just feel like Disciple should just search spells and monsters, but we'll get into that more later. All right, so next up we have the real important stuff. We have the ritual monsters. Now these are the real reason that you would want to play this deck, in my opinion, just because not only is the artwork on these cards just fucking awesome, but you know, both the level 2 ritual monsters are crazy good. Like, it's they're starters, they're extenders. It's very strange. They're also very hard to give a roll to. But anyway, we'll start off with the classic one. We'll start off with the old Devotee of Nephthys. Again, level 2 wind spellcaster, 1200 attack, 1200 defense. So not very impressive stats, but the effect reads that you can ritual summon this card with Rebirth of Nephthys. They all say that, so I'm just not going to say that anymore. If this card is ritual summoned, you can special summon one Nephthys monster from your deck. So that's pretty good. It's obviously works very well with all the other Nephthys monsters because the level matches up, of course. But then, you know, you can do something along the lines of like play a Devotee, and then you can special a Disciple from your deck. Then you can use the Disciple's effect to destroy a card in your hand to add a Matriarch of Nephthys. You know, you can make a link play, you can normal summon the Matriarch of Nephthys, etc., so on and so forth. So naturally, this card is going to get all of your combo play started, but also if you already have something going, it can extend you even further. So the second effect says, while this card is in your graveyard, you can destroy one Nephthys card in your hand, and then you can special summon this card from the graveyard. So not only does it special summon from deck, but it also can recur itself from graveyard. And the Nephthys Link monster can fuel this effect as well. So that's just a great to have. I mean, special summoning from deck is always one of the most powerful effects. But that being said, that kind of adds to the fragileness of the overall Nephthys strategy. So the next card we have is the retrain of the Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. So we have the Cerulean Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. So it is a level 8 fire wing beast, you know, the same kind of thing as the original Sacred Phoenix, 3000 attack and a mere 1000 defense. So the effect reads that you can only use both of its effects once per turn. So the first effect is you can destroy Nephthys cards on your hand or face up on your field to destroy that many number of monsters your opponent controls. It does not target. It is any number. It's very good. But, you know, destruction has kind of been outclassed over the years by something like shuffle into deck or return to hand. But that being said, the fact that this is, you know, it can be multiple pops and it doesn't target, I think is just something that's very valuable to this deck. So that's very good. You know, obviously it's a going second card. You clear boards with it. You know, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can even make rank 8 plays if you'd like, but we won't really talk about that for right now. The second effect says that if this card is in your graveyard because it was destroyed by battle or card effect during your next standby phase, you can special summon it. So it has a recurability effect as well. That being said, it has to be ritual summoned first. Of course, it has to be successfully summoned before you can gain this effect. But that is not a problem, especially now that we have the new level 2 Conductor of Nephthys. So the Conductor of Nephthys says that if this card is ritual summoned, you may special summon one Nephthys ritual monster from your deck. Parentheses, this is treated as a ritual summon. So obviously that works perfectly with the Devotee of Nephthys, because now we can go ritual summon Conductor, ritual summon Devotee from our deck for free, and then we can special summon another monster, you know, a Nephthys monster, because it triggers Devotee because it was ritual summoned, which is crazy. That being said, this doesn't really solve core problems with the deck of, you know, like resiliency and things of that nature. But, you know, you can try to build around that as much as you can. And the second effect says that if this card was destroyed or attributed by specifically a Nephthys card effect, which does kind of suck because, you know, everything else just has to be destroyed, period. But, I mean, it's not like it's the end of the world, because if you ritual summon Conductor with Conductor, then you trigger the Conductor that you attributed, etc. But what happens if you do that is during the next standby phase, it's actually, you know, the only Nephthys monster that says during the exact next standby phase, which really doesn't make sense for the hidden summoner stuff, but I feel like they kind of realized that was sort of a slow floating type of, it's just the overall design of that part of the deck is just too slow. So I think this was them trying to fix it. But what it actually does is it destroys a Nephthys card from your hand, field, and deck, which is pretty good, of course, because you can then basically set up at least a minimum of one float if you just summon from deck. So you don't have to do all three. You can do any combination of, you know, those 3 places. You can blow up just from hand, you can blow up just from deck, you can blow up just from field and deck, etc., and so on. But, you know, of course, this is the most powerful card in the deck. This is the strongest card in the Nephthys deck. So, I mean, it's a definite 3 of in any build. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to play 3 of this card. And yeah, that's actually it for the main deck monsters. So we'll actually move on to the extra deck now. There's only 2 extra deck Nephthys monsters. The link to Nephthys, the Sacred Preserver, is the better of the 2 in my opinion. It takes 2 Nephthys monsters to summon it, and then you can activate one of the 2 effects that it has once per turn while it's face up on the field, whatever. It doesn't activate on summon, you can just activate them whenever you want. So the first effect says, during your main phase, you can add 1 level 8 winged beast from your deck to your hand, and if you do, you then can add 1 Nephthys ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand. So just the fact that when you're, committing to Nephthys monsters to make this, you can immediately replenish 2 cards. So it's like, basically you get a Link 2 body for almost free. At least that's one way to look at it. The second effect says that you can destroy 1 Nephthys monster that this card points to, and then you can special summon from your graveyard a Nephthys monster with a different name. It's very good for sort of like fixing combos, or like if you drew one that you didn't want to draw or whatever, but like you tributed it and now you can get it out via this card's effect. That is an option to you, and also it triggers your Nephthys cards. But that being said, I think that the search is just far more valuable. You can use a second effect. It is okay, but I feel like for the most part, it's just not nearly as good as the search. The search is just too valuable in my eyes. So the next extra deck monster that Nephthys has is a Link 3 Fire Winged Beast called Nephthys the Sacred Flame. The Sacred Flame reads that it takes 2+ monsters, including 1 ritual. So its passive effect is, while it's in the extra monster zone, your opponent cannot target Nephthys monsters that this card points to in the main zone for attacks. Woo. So its second effect says that based on the number of ritual monsters that you use for its Link summon, you can gain the following effects. 1 ritual monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Okay. 2 ritual monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects, and also its attack goes to 36 by gaining 1200. 3 ritual monsters cannot be targeted by card effects. Also, it gains 1200 more attack, putting it at 4800. So, in my opinion, this card has always been far too much investment for not enough return. Now, while it cannot be targeted, it can be destroyed by battle, yada yada, protects your main deck guys, you're not really ever trying to leave the main deck Nephthys monsters, or even the big chickens on the field. Because, realistically, you're trying to use most of the Nephthys cards for combo play. And I feel like just slamming, a conductor, a devotee, and, any other monster into this for 3600 can't be destroyed by battle, it's just not good enough in my opinion. I was never really a fan of this card. I tried it in pure Nephthys. I've tried it in other decks. Like I played the ritual variant of Dark Magician before as well. I tried it in there. It's just not good. I feel like if anything, if you're going to play any Link 3, any off Link 3, you need to play Blackluster Soldier Link, because it's kind of, you would use very similar materials to make BLS that you would to make this. But, I digress. The card's not the worst in the world. I just don't think it's good enough for the investment that you have to put into it. So the last segment of the Nephthys card pool is, well, the very disappointing reality that they only have 3 spells and traps. It would have been nice if Konami gave this archetype more of a support system through maybe a search spell or something of the like, but all we have is a ritual spell, 1 normal spell, and 1 continuous trap. So most importantly, we'll start with the ritual spell, because obviously that's how you play the deck. What the card says is you can use this card to ritual summon Devotee of Nephthys or Sacred Cerulean Phoenix of Nephthys, which is very nice that it lists those 2 cards, because now we can pre-prep for either one of those. So obviously pre-prep is a 3F in the deck as well. So you tribute monsters that level equal to or exceed, the basic ritual stuff. However, it has a second effect that says, if you tributed Devotee, or if you tributed Cerulean Sacred Phoenix, you can destroy a card in the field. Again, non-targeting, so it's very, very good for playing into boards. This deck definitely already has a hard enough time trying to play through interaction, so just the fact that we have this on the ritual spell is very nice, because this will activate and resolve before you activate whatever your ritual summons. So like if I ritual summon for a Conductor of Nephthys, and I attributed a Devotee of Nephthys, I can pop a card before the Conductor actually, activates. Which is also good because it can make this card prime bait. Next we have Last Hope of Nephthys. Seeing as how it has a name like Last Hope of Nephthys, it would kind of be our only hope, our last hope for this deck to have a search card. But no. Last Hope of Nephthys says you can target 1 Nephthys monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls. Cost. Destroy both of them. You can only activate 1 Last Hope per turn. Fucking horrible. There's literally nothing else to say about this card. It's bad. last card is Awakening of Nephthys. Awakening of Nephthys makes me even more mad than Last Hope of Nephthys, actually, because Awakening of Nephthys had potential to be very good, but they ruined it. So its continuous effect on the field is all Nephthys monsters gain 300 attack. So that's a fucking joke. The second effect, however, had potential to be very good, but there's one line of text in this card that completely ruins it. If this face-up card in the spell and trap zone is destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Nephthys monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard, but destroy it during the end phase. You can only use this effect of Awakening of Nephthys once per turn. This could have been so good. If you could destroy this from your hand and then special a Nephthys monster from your deck, boy, that would be crazy. However, it's terrible. Really nothing else to say. It's just bad. So there are two other Nephthys monsters that I didn't include in the main lineup because, well, it's kind of a meme. So obviously Konami likes to do this thing where they release a set with a certain theme and then they just start jamming iconic boss monsters into that theme, I guess. Basically what I'm referring to here is Phantom Darkness introduced a lot of dark counterparts of cards, Dark Armed Dragon, the Dark Creator, and of course going alongside with it, Dark Grepher, so on and so forth, but of course going along with those, Dark Nephthys. Why? So I actually just have to read this one off my computer because I have no idea what it says. If you have 3 or more dark monsters in your graveyard and this card is in your hand, you can banish 2 of them from your graveyard, send this card from your hand to the graveyard. During your next standby phase, after this card was sent to the graveyard by this effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. When this card is special summoned, target one spell and trap card on the field and destroy that target. And the other one we have here is Metaphys Nephthys. This actually has some really cool artwork. I also feel like they only made this card so they could make that pun, Metaphys Nephthys. Man, that's really bad. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster, you can banish all set spell and traps from the field. If this card is banished during the next standby phase of your next turn, you can shuffle this banished card to the deck and one Metaphys card from your deck to your hand. Wow, they even had the slow floating on the Metaphys version. So that's where that came from. Fuck. So yeah, that encompasses the entirety of the Metaphys archetype. So yeah, that encompasses the entirety of the Nephthys archetype. You have some fairly decent cards at your disposal in the card pool, but the weird, slow, floating recovery type thing can definitely be something of use occasionally. But that being said, something like Conductor of Nephthys is 6 link material worth of monsters. So I think that in itself is just something notable about the deck. It has the potential to be very, very explosive. I feel like the deck is one good recovery or search spell away from having the potential to do good things, to do very, very good things. But, that being said, I will move into the profile here. Okay, so I usually hate doing long deck profiles, so I'm going to have to try my hardest here to, cover all the ground that I can. Because I really do want to do an in-depth profile for this, so we'll try our best to get that done here. So starting off the list, you have your main Nexus core, which consists of your 3 conductor and your 3 devotee. I mean the core of at least the ritual monsters. Now both of these cards are kind of going to serve the same purpose for you whenever you're playing the deck, because really all you're trying to do is get to either one of these, preferably the conductor, and then you can special summon out your disciple or your matriarch or whatever, depending on what's in your hand. So the conductor is preferred, of course, because the conductor can get you the devotee and it will treat that as a ritual summon, so then the devotee can then fetch you something else, which is kind of what I mean by conductor within itself is 6 link material worth of monsters, because conductor gets devotee, devotee gets disciple, disciple adds matriarch. You can turn them all into the Sacred Preserver, at least 2 of them into the Sacred Preserver, and then once you've made this, you have not normal summoned, you have access to this engrave. You always link summon this one off. You have access to this engrave for its graveyard ability so that it can recur itself, You always have fodder for that, because the Link monster is going to search you a level 8 wing beast and add back the ritual spell. So that you'll have fodder for that, and you'll have fodder for your matriarch. At the bare minimum, you'll have cards to destroy. You then can normal summon the matriarch, and then, you know, the matriarch can get you back the whatever other Nephthys card you linked off, and then the devotee can just summon itself back. So, like, just resolving this card is, you know, this and IP, or like, you can do like Appaloosa for 3. You could do like just simply just like Avermax. You could just make some Morg. Like, you can do a lot of stuff. Like, you figure after you've made this, you have a Link 2 and 3 monsters still. So there's like tons of shit you can do there. You can make Trish, the Trish fusion, and go for like a VFD play, but you know, that's why the conductor is of, you know, the utmost importance. That being said, the devotee is going to net you almost the exact same thing. You'll just be missing one monster, so you can still do an Apo for 4 just off of this. You know, the problem, of course, lying that both of these cards, while they are very powerful, are very susceptible to interruption, like of almost all kinds. That being said, these cards are very necessary for really like any build. These are just absolute includes. Next, you have the 2 chickens. There really isn't a whole ton that you can say about these guys. I mean, of course, the Sacred Phoenix is just very dated at this point. It's a very slow effect. However, it is very good for the follow-up play, because of course, most of the time you're going to be using the search effect from the Sacred Preserver, and you're going to want to normally be adding the Sacred Phoenix so that on, you know, the turn 3 it can come back. It can possibly destroy back row. You know, it's a mandatory effect for it to destroy the back row, which is unfortunate because sometimes you might just want to bring it out and, you know, not be just like immediately negated. But, you know, that being said, they can just negate it in grave as well. But you want it to come out so that you can have access to, you know, something like the Blackluster Soldier Link. And really the same goes for the Cerulean Sacred Phoenix. It's just, you know, the Cerulean Sacred Phoenix is not quite as easy to set that up because it has to be destroyed pretty much on field because you have to ritual summon it first. But, you know, that's another one of the perks about the conductor, is the conductor just gets this out of your deck for going second. So that is definitely something cool at your disposal. The 3K body is nice. The non-targeting destruction is nice. I think that just having both of these as options is kind of quite necessary. Not necessarily like exactly these two, but having, you know, 2 level 8 winged beasts at your disposal. I think the Cerulean Sacred Phoenix is absolutely mandatory now that conductor is out, but I mess around with builds where this is actually Danger Thunderbird, so that's an option to you as well, because that is just an extender. Like, drawing that card is not nearly as much of a brick as opening this card, but you know, there's things that you can do about this. Like, you can still trigger this if you open it through, you know, the rest of your Nephthys cards. You would just rather be searching it most of the time off Sacred Preserver. So for the first of the main deck lineup that I play, it's Triple Disciple. Like I said in the archetype breakdown, you need to play 3 of this. This is all that you have in terms of in-archetype search power. So, I mean, like I said, you know, your main play most of the time is Conductor, Devotee, Disciple, Disciple, Search, Matriarch, because, you know, you can do it really either way. You can do it. If you open this card, you can just do the ritual play and get the Matriarch and then just normal summon this. But so again, the Disciple is a consistency piece. It would be really nice if you could search spells, but that's just not the case. You just can't. It's not part of the card text. They decided that's not how they wanted it to work. But, you know, that's fine and dandy. It does what it's supposed to do, and of course it has the recurability to add a spell to your hand, a ritual spell, I think, or no, it's just a Nephthys spell, a trap, but it's going to be the ritual spell, because like I said in the archetype breakdown, the other 2 are just really bad. You know, going alongside the Disciple, what you're going to search is either one of these, most of the time Matriarch, but, you know, Chronicler is a fine card too. Again, it's a recursion card. You really want to pop this out of your hand to pay for the other cards. That's like the main reason that this is here, because it's going to get you back any Nephthys card from your grave. So that's, you know, that's the whole archetype. It's really the whole deck. So that's pretty good. And of course, if you have just those awkward hands where you just need to get, like, for instance, if you opened this and it's like all you have for tribute fodder and you tribute out Conductor, you can get Chronicler, and then, you know, you can end up using Chronicler to add the Matriarch back to your hand, and then you can still normal summon the Matriarch and play as normal. So it's kind of like a reverse of the Disciple of Nephthys. I really don't think you need any more of these. I don't think you should ever play Defender. I just don't think Defender's good enough. If you were going to go for a more pure version of the deck, you could probably bump these up to 2, but Alright, so next up in my list, I play a supplemental engine of a level 9 package because we're trying to make true King of all calamities. We're really not trying to play fair at all with this deck, but that engine consists of triple Gizmek Kaku, the Supreme Shining Sky Stag. So of course this card realistically adds nothing to the consistency, I suppose, of the deck in terms of like what we're actually trying to do here, because you know it has no effect when it's destroyed. So I mean, really all it's here for is to be a level 9 that you can simply just summon if you have something in the extra monster zone. So if you've resolved your your Sacred Preserver combo, you can then just summon this card. So you know, it's really more important for just an easy target for the World Legacy Monstrosity that is included in the deck as well. Because like I said, if you open simply just this, you know, combo and this card, then you can make a crazy big board, which is nice. So that's why this is in here. Also, the fire attribute is relevant because we do play the Agnimazad, so sometimes that can be, you know, something that can come up where you can even end up using Agnimazad's effect for 2 fires and banish a card or a monster or whatever it is. So yeah, Gizmek Kaku. Of course, you know, going second, this adds a lot. It brings a lot to the table for going second. It sucks that it does activate the summon. It's not just something that you can simply just special summon. But you know, it's very good. It's a threat. It is just a very well-rounded card overall. Just fits perfectly in this slot, I think. It's cuttable though. That is something that I was going to say. It is cuttable, but cutting this card means that then you have to play 2 1-ofs for Monstrosity, or just not play Monstrosity at all. So we have a True King engine here, triple Barathos, triple Mariamne, and then, you know, 1 Agnimazad, then Pronounceable. All these cards are fucking have crazy names. So, you know, naturally, the wind one being the best, majority of the deck is wind, and then the fire has the application of, you know, popping Gizmek Kaku, popping the birds, whatever, to get itself on board. And you can actually use the effect to banish cards off the top of your opponent's deck, which is pretty hilarious because you can a lot of the time tribute 2 wins for this. So, you know, that's something. Really, the Barathos is kind of the one that is the most out of place in the deck, mostly because, you know, the only water you play is Barathos. But that being said, with Nephthys cards, it just summons either of these out of your deck. So that's pretty cool too. And then of course we have the Dragonic Diagram to go with these guys. So, you know, Diagram, pop this, summon this, add this. You can do a lot of things. It's just for card economy, I suppose. It's just kind of like keeping up with card advantage because you have to pop cards in order to do anything. And that's, you know, another reason why the wind one is so good, because the wind one can go, you know, pop, add, this adds this back, this can get this later or whatever, or however you want to do it. You know, this can get this, and then that can summon whichever one you want of those 2. So I just really think that this is better than the other option that you have to you for a engine that works with the destruction, because your other option really is dinosaurs. And while dinosaurs are very good, I feel like this is more explosive, if you will. I don't know. I'm not really too sure. I've tested dinos as well. I just always come back to this because, you know, the fact that you have the ability to play this card, and like VFT is just like too good to pass up, in my opinion. And the last card that goes with these guys is Machina Metal Cruncher. So we play the Machina Metal Cruncher for one reason and one reason only. You can normal summon this card. That is it. You just normal summon it without attributing, so that if you really have to get another level 9 on board, if really all you have is VFT pass, you can play with this card. You know what I'm saying? Like if you open this one, you can play with this one. I've tried the Lightning Strike Kaiju because I figured it could have utility going second, but you know, of course it just makes it just such a brick. And then I also played, originally I played Nightmare Idly. I don't know why I played Nightmare Idly. It just, I don't know, it looked cool, I guess. But, you know, that being said, this is really your best option if you're going to go the monstrosity route. I've looked at generators. I don't know if generators work with this at all. I think that they're too specific, and it would just add like a whole nother dimension to this that I just was not willing to really put much effort into. I could be wrong on that front, though. That is something that I definitely have not delved into, is trying to mix generators with this. But I feel like that is a bit of a reach. But yeah, only have a few more monsters left. 3 Baby Rock. So this has always been something that's kind of been in and out and in and out and in and out with me. Originally, I played this card with a Hulk combo whenever we had Link Cross still. You know, you could get like a free Herald. You could even like do like a Rorodon plays with this deck too if you'd like. You could honestly do that, but I think that that's a little counterproductive. I think that going into a Rorodon plays just it limits you too much, because this deck really thrives off Link summoning, in my opinion. That being said, I really could be wrong. I really could, but I just think that it's also not consistent enough to simply rely on just drawing this card for Hulk. So there's that too. Really, the purpose of Baby Rock serves is not only is it level 2, but it does not miss timing off of destruction through your Nexus cards or your True Draco cards. So you have the ability to make Herald fairly easy. Like if you were to do Conductor, summon out 3, Disciple, destroy this in your hand to add Matriarch, you can make Herald before you commit your 5th summon, which is very nice. I think Herald would then come out on 5, which is really good. But also, you know, that being said, it can work inversely as well. Like you can use Disciple, pop this to search, and then you can just make Herald there and go for your ritual summon. So I just think it's too valuable not to not, you know, have this as an option. It's wind. It just seems to fit in just so perfectly. Just the fact that it doesn't miss timing too, because all the Nephthys cards are one singular effect. Last 2 cards in the deck, we have 1 Fire King Avatar of Rata, whatever, this guy, the elephant dude. This is something that I actually got from watching Team Kings of Games. Shout out to that guy, because he's actually the person that got me on this list, that has, you know, had made me really obsessed with the deck as a whole and trying to refine it so much so that I'm making an ultimate guide to it. But really seriously, a big shout out to that guy. 3 Stacks, Team Kings of Games. He is the man for sure. But, you know, that's beyond the point. So basically, the card is very much, if you've ever seen his video, it's described as an off one of, and it really is, but he said himself it's part of the spice. I was not a believer in this at first, but this card is nuts in this deck. Not only is it nuts because you can summon this card, and then if you have a fire in your hand, which you know, it seems rather likely, it's more likely than it is unlikely, I suppose. But if you have a fire in your hand, you can negate a monster effect. So this alone, normal summoning this card is protection through the beer room. But, you know, we're also playing the Fire King Island to get to it, the terraforming, and the set rotation. So that is, you know, realistically you have like 4 of these. And then, of course, Fire King Island triggers stuff. This guy triggers stuff as well. But the main thing for me about this card isn't even the negation. When this card is destroyed, it revives any fire monster from your graveyard. Why is that important, you may ask? You can revive this card. This is a Fire Link 2 Wing Beast. So you can simply just go pop, special summon this guy. You immediately have a Link 2 body back from the grave, which is huge because this guy allows you to make Avermax with Avermax IP with like the greatest of ease. Like it's no one's fucking business type shit. So that is just kind of honestly too valuable not to dedicate the 3 slots to being able to play this. Granted, you could just play more of this. I just don't think that it's quite that necessary. I think having the Fire King Island and the access to the rotation to give you either in either situation is just far better, because you can search this while triggering cards, or, you know, you can simply just go for Diagram instead if you want. Does drawing this with the field spell, or, you know, drawing this with set rotation suck? Yeah, kind of, but it's really not the end of the world. Honestly, drawing this with set roto is pretty good, because then you can go for Diagram to get Agnimazad so that this guy is just live. So that's definitely something as well. The last monster in the deck is Wimberry Statue of the Stormwinds. We are definitely going Simorg route in this deck, but we're not doing Union Carrier Infinite Negate. That's far too fragile. You know, when you summon this with Simorg and you put it under him, it can't be targeted or like destroyed by card effects or whatever. I forget the exact protection, but we'll get to that when we get there. Pair this up with VFD, no effects, no special summon, can't attack. Pair it up with Avermax under IP, pretty good pretty good little lock you have going there. So also in playing this, you don't have to play Thunderbird, you don't have to commit to Union Carrier in the extra board. I think this is just the easier include. Granted, Virtual World kind of laughs at this card, but what they don't laugh at is VFD, so that's that. So for spells, a lot of it is just consistency cards, and then, you know, a few bombs here and there. Triple pre-prep. It's more copies of everything you want. This card is sort of the quote one card combo. Like, you can do a one card combo with this, of course, and then the other cards in your hand are tribute fodder and stuff to destroy. But just resolving this is Appaloosa for 4, so I mean, like, that's crazy. Just resolving this is Simorg plus an extra body. So like, if you have this Baby Rock, you know, it's Simorg, Statue, and Herald. You know what I'm saying? Like, this card is just too valuable. I mean, it sucks that it can't search Conductor, but you know, that's honestly why we have the double extra foolish in the deck. You could play 3 of this. I'm not playing, I don't want to play over like 45. Like, you're already kind of pushing it, but you really do have to cram all this stuff in here, like the rotation, the rare Fire King guy. I think all that is necessary for making the deck truly consistent. So, you know, if you were playing more towards 50, towards 60, then you could probably play 3 of this. But, you know, I think just the 2 is good enough, because this is more copies of any ritual spell, etc. So that's that. And then, of course, the triple Rebirth of Nephthys. This card is amazing. It's for the sole purpose that the destruction effect is non-targeting is great, because it's just super good for going second. It's the only good Nexus spell card, unfortunately. But yeah, that's that. So really, these are all more copies of this, because you have enough of the ritual monsters. You have enough search power through Disciple, you know. So I think you're pretty much chilling there. So you really just need more copies of this. But yeah, that's that. Next up, you have the 3 World Legacy Monstrosity. You know, there's been builds where I've played Meguro engines as well, so that we can search this. So, you know, realistically, I would cut out, you know, this and the Avrata for a Girsu engine, and then you could simply just add the 1 target to send to grave. Because with the Girsu combo, you can normal Girsu, make the tokens, summon Lib, you know, Lib effect, because you send the World Legacy World Armor to your grave for Girsu's effect. Set Succession, play Succession, get back to Claw, get this card, right? So just off Girsu, you can do that. You know, you can set all that up and you can search this, and then you can go Devotee, you know, Devotee effect, matriarch, whatever, you know, etc. Blah blah blah. You can make Trish and then make VFD right there. You can also do like Abramax plays. Like, there's really a lot that you can do with the Girsu engine as well. But that being said, Girsu is a non-searchable card. It makes this card searchable, which is cool. So like, you can play 3 just so you can hard open it, or you can search out the Girsu play. But, you know, I feel like playing the Girsu really doesn't add enough to the consistency of things. Like, it's definitely really powerful when it goes off, but everything about the deck is really powerful when it goes off already. So I feel like whenever I originally built with that, it was almost like a little forced. I'm not really too sure. I want to revisit it again, but I already have multiple times, but I want to try again. So I haven't really tried with Conductor, so, but it makes the deck building really hard, because you're creeping up to 50, 55, etc. You're making a fat stack, and you know, the way I've always looked at it is, the more cards you put in the deck, the further away you are from getting to this card, because this is the most important card in the deck, honestly. So the more cards you put in the deck, the further away you are from pre-prep. So that's always been kind of my mentality with making the deck fatter for, you know, more extension, more options. But of course, this is like one of your best bombs. Like, I mean, I'm not really playing hand traps in this. Like, I'm really just like going all in on combo, like trying to just like put up Herald, play with the Fire King guy, trying to like get there before, you know, we're within range of Nibiru, whatever, trying to be able to play past Interruption, which is definitely hard to do with this deck. But this is why this card is so important, because, you know, you figure if they are negating your Conductor, but you have access to a True King, simply just summon it, and then you could play this, and then possibly make VFD. More than likely still make VFD, but you make VFD for 3 at that point, because, you know, that's all you have, so you might as well. I just feel like it's too powerful not to play. If you're already going to include level 9s as a package, then this should just be a no-brainer. And then the last couple cards are all one-ofs. You have Diagram. This honestly needs no introduction. It's fucking Diagram. The card is limited to 1. It's broken. It works perfectly with everything. There's really not a lot to say. Fire King Island, again, can give you access to Avrata for negation, and then these two are just more copies of these. Yes, I'm aware what this card says, that if it is, sent to the graveyard, it blows up my board, which is a bit of a meme. So it can potentially make set rotation dangerous. It's funny though, because it's like sent to the grave or banished, so it's bad. It definitely can go wrong. That being said, I just feel like it's too valuable, because it gives it, playing this just makes it so you still have triple Diagram effectively. Like just simply playing this one card makes it so you have triple Diagram, and also gives you access to searching of Ratas to play through Nibiru. But that's that. And the last card is Called By. It's a combo deck. Of course I'm playing Called By. I really want this card to be back at 3. That'd be fucking wonderful, wouldn't it? Okay, so extra deck. We have double Sacred Preserver of Nephthys. So you have 2, because if you make the first one and you do the whole combo, on the following turn, you can make this one and you can add back the ritual spell. That's the main thing. It lets you add back the ritual spell. So if you're doing this, you're resolving the combo completely. You can get the barrier statue off board, like through IP for Apo or whatever. You get your Sacred Phoenix back, you make the second one, and then you search Cerulean Sacred Phoenix, you get the ritual spell, you play the Cerulean, pop the rest of the board, whatever, just go for the kill if they manage to break through your board. If they didn't just scoop to your end board, that's why you play the other one. And then, things can just happen sometimes. But yeah, that's that. So, I mean, obviously the fact that putting just pre-prep into making this, into adding 2 cards, kind of just makes it just like too valuable. The second effect is very niche, like I said in the deck breakdown, or the archetype breakdown. The second effect is very niche, but the first effect is mandatory though. You need to play this card so you can activate the first effect. 1 IP, this is part of your end board possibly. The main thing with IP is we can do the play with Abramax, or we can slam the barrier statue and something else into Appaloosa, so we can get the barrier statue off the board if it's being threatened in some way, or so that we can just play for the follow-up. But the Masquerena, of course, is just too valuable as a card anyway. It's very generic. It just offers another layer of interaction for you, because we are playing Unicorn, so that's pretty needed in my opinion. The 1 win is also the same kind of reasoning as playing the Appaloosa, so that you can just turn the barrier statue and something else into this, so then you can play again. It can get you out of windlock, which is kind of valuable for sure. Not really a whole ton else that goes into this. I guess it's pretty good against like Virtual World, because you can revive one of their guys as a free extender, so that's something as well. Once more, Bird of Sovereignty. Of course, this card's just crazy. Like all kinds of stuff can use it. Dinos can use it too. Like just resolving just Devotee gets you this card. Like bare minimum, it gets you this card. So that's cool. Just 1 pre-prep is this. So that's immediately 1 part of the end board that's always taken care of by just the ritual package. Because of the fact that the Sacred Preserver can search you the level 8 wing beast, add the ritual spell back, it turns your Devotee live. It turns on your Devotee in the graveyard. So you can simply, add the chicken, add the spell, blow up the chicken, get Devotee back, turn them both into this. This is a wing beast. This just takes 2+ monsters plus a wing beast. So yeah, that is just too valuable. And of course, barrier statues are crazy good cards, so I mean, why not? No special summoning. It's very much like a fossil Dyna. It offers protection as well for your thing. 1 Nightmare Unicorn. Of course, this is a going second thing. This is a possibility for IP if you actually don't have access to this, which most of the time if you're getting to IP, you've probably already made some more. But, of course, it's just a utility card. That's why it's here. 1 Blackluster Soldier. Soldier of Chaos. Of course, it works perfectly with the chickens. I mean, it's just, yeah. He is just going to beat Rogue. He's going to beat Altergeist. He's going to steal games for you. It's a rather expensive card, but it's just a perfect include. Really, it is. It just fits this slot so perfectly. Of course, you have your 1 Boral Sword. This could also be access code. I just bought an access code. It's coming in the mail, so I'll have that for profiles as well. Either way, either one, it doesn't matter. This is just so you can go second and kill. Because like I said, you know, again, just resolving conductor is 6 link material. So like making this is just nothing. It's just cake. And then like even leaving a guy up, like, that being said, access code is just as good because of the varying attributes that he offers, you know, like the deck offers, I mean. So yeah, that's something cool as well. 1 Avram access is part of the end board as well. You know, you make it with IP. He can't be destroyed by card effects. He can't be targeted by his own effect. He can't be destroyed by battle because of his own effect. He spins, you know, after he dies, it goes to the grave. He spins a card. It's just crazy, crazy good. It's another option for you to go into if you don't have access to calamities, so that you can do like some more statue and this, so that they can't just like attack the statue. And then of course they can't target the statue with card effects as well. So it's just, you know, that whole board gives you more layers of protection. Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. I've already pretty much explained why this is here. I mean, of course, it's just a good card. This is a good generic link 4. It's another option you have instead of going into Bird some more. Instead of going into some more, you have this as an option as well. And then, of course, like I said, again, Devotee is an Appo for 3. So that's that. I'm not really going to talk a whole ton about her because I already really have gone over why it's so good. Double Herald, you play 1 to dump, you play 1 to summon. Of course, if you do end up dumping both of them off Extra Foolish, you have 2 copies because you played 2 copies of Extra Foolish. I mean, this being a Floodgate, you know, an Omni Negate, it also adds ritual spells if you use it as an Omni Negate, so it can like float into more plays for you. This is just like so popular, I feel like there's not really a reason for me to talk about this at all, so we'll just move on from Herald of the Arclight. It's just very powerful and fits the bill perfectly for this deck. 1 Trishula, Dragon of Icy Imprisonment. If you have no access to World Legacy Monstrosity, or you only have access to World Legacy Monstrosity, this card can bail you out of situations like that. If you only have access to 1 level 9, you make this, and then you can make the True King of All Calamities. So yeah, you're never actually going to get the Dragon of Icy Imprisonment effect off to banish cards, but that doesn't really matter. It's just here. This is a very much a backup plan, a just in case type of card, but you do need it. It's a combo piece, you know, etc. And of course, the last card is True King of All Calamities. Should be banned. It does says your opponent cannot play Yu-Gi-Oh, so that is unfortunate for them. But you know, it's just so easy to make this card. There's really, it fits so perfectly in the deck that there's just no reason not to build around it, honestly. It's very oppressive. It wins you so many games, so I mean, yeah, why am I even still going on about this card? It's fucking bullshit. But yeah, that's what I got for the profile. We can go ahead and move over to EDO Pro for other options now, and yeah, we'll keep the video going. Alright, so we're here on EDO Pro. The first list I have pulled up is the Girsu list, and of course, you know, this was one of the lists that I mentioned in the deck profile. So the whole idea with this list is the Girsu is going to get us into Lib, which is going to get us into World Armor, which will then get us to Monstrosity by the end of it, so that we can, you know, for sure make all these level 9s turn into VFD. Any one of these level 9s can become VFD at that point. Except possibly this one, but if we're resolving Nephthys combo, then you should be okay. Also, something else that resolving the Girsu combo can add is the possibility of just slamming them into an Appaloosa if they haven't interacted with you yet. So that is definitely something that's cool and at your disposal. You know, the problem with this deck though is, you know, Girsu just isn't searchable, so you're adding another brick in the form of, you know, the World Armor. So that definitely sucks as well, and it's like the succession is really no big deal, but you're also losing some utility in the extra deck. I notice I don't actually have a 15 card extra deck here. This Marcher's not even supposed to be in here anymore. You used to play Hulk for like the Link Cross bullshit, so you can get like Herald or whatever, but now actually the Hulk is pretty much just another line that can get you into Sovereignty, because you can Hulk shit out Baby Rock, and then you can make some more British Sovereignty. I don't need this in my current Nephthys list because it's more streamlined to resolving the Nephthys combo, and you know, really the Girsu was kind of just like, if we can't have access to Nephthys combo, then we can just, you know, go that route to get to some more. I suppose very briefly I can show the combo. Let me just set it up real quick. It's just Girsu pre-prep. Okay, so all you need for the combo is Girsu and pre-prep. This hand's insane, but it actually does not matter. Anyway, we're gonna normal summon Girsu, activate effect, send the world armor, and then we're gonna use Girsu's to summon tokens. We're going to link into Lib, World Keyblade Master. We're gonna activate Lib. We're going to set Succession. We will activate Succession to get the armor back. We're going to activate armor. We will go get Monstrosity. Then, of course, we'll do the pre-prep. So we will go for Nephthys, Ritual Spell, and Devotee. And then, of course, we can go Rebirth. Activate Rebirth. Special summon Devotee by attributing the conductor. Or chronicler. And then yes for Devotee. And then we will go get our matriarch. Then we will go for what's her IP. And then IP and Lib are going to become Evermax. And then of course we can use the Lib and get rid of the token. Then we can go ahead and use Matriarch to target the Devotee Engrave. We're going to tribute here. We're not going to activate Baby Rock because we're doing a fixed combo. And then we can go ahead and special summon the Preserver, activate the Preserver. Then we can go get the Sacred Phoenix. And then we can add a Ritual Spell from Grave. And then, of course, we can go Devotee Effect in Grave. We're going to destroy the chicken so that we can have that for the float. And finally, we're going to special summon Simorg. And yeah, that's that. When the end phase goes around, you get to activate Simorg. And you get the chicken out of your deck. Well, it's not a chicken, it's a statue, but I mean, as you could see easily there with that exact hand, we had VFD on top of this and potentially Herald, but actually we definitely had Herald, but yeah, that's beyond the point. Just those two cards, you can end up with this and still have 3 cards in hand, so that's pretty sweet. You know, granted, comboing more is going to deplete your hand more as well. Alright, so for the next list that I wanted to show you, we're going to be going right up here and going on down to Nephthys Dino. So this is another option that is available to you. Of course, this engine seems a lot more consistent in the regard that we're always going to have something to trigger our Nephthys cards. So, I mean, obviously, like, Ovi Misk is insane, and then, you know, Ovi can either go find this card, it can go find any one of these so that we can, you know, play from there. And of course, all of these are more Oviraptors. Really, the Petite Pterodon is like, obviously there's like nothing crazy we can get off of it. Like, we could play Pankratops in this deck as well. There's definitely room for Pank because it is, you know, very valuable for going second. But you know, these 6 cards are gonna turbo you out to either getting here or to this guy or whatever, you know, because like Misk is also this guy, Misk is also tuner for Hulk, for Baby Rock, for Simorg, like I mentioned about the last deck profile. And of course, you know, this deck can end with, you know, very easily end with boards that are like Herald, with Simorg, with Conductor, you know, with Bear Statue, of course, as well. But you know, that's all fine and dandy. You could do a lot more with this. This Rafflesia's actually not even supposed to be in there either. Like, I was playing Parallel Exceed in here as well with Rafflesia Gravehole, trying to like play through the disruptions in that regard. This deck also has access to Dolka, which is cool. So you can, you know, put up Dolka and try to play through Nibs and shit like that as well. And of course, this extra deck is like nothing of like what it what it should be. Like there should be Dolka in here, there should be like access code, unicorn, all sorts of utility cards, but really this is kind of like what the core of the deck looks like. You know, really you could get really crazy. You could play all of this shit, and you could play True Kings, and you could play the Fire King engine, you know, etc, etc. So like there's just a lot that you can really do with these cards, even with the limited amount of cards that will trigger off of them. There's a lot of shit that you can do, and obviously this deck going second is just broken because you have Cerulean, you have the Nephthys ritual spell, and you have the entire dinosaur engine on top of all of that, so that's cool as well. And you know, something that's kind of cheeky about this deck profile is Archosaur can either get you to pill, or it can search you Baby Rock, which is pretty funny because it can then turn on Herald options for you with great consistency, honestly. Of course, this version of the deck is kind of, I look at this as very similar, like an alternate way to do this, like alternatively to Girsu, I should say, because of course it's an alternate way to play Nephthys, but I think that this is like a direct like inverse of Girsu. Like you could do that, or you could do this if you're trying to play like a supplemental like normal summon engine, because of course, you know, the resiliency of the Dino engine through miscellaneous source is kind of just like unprecedented, and it is very valuable for something like Nephthys that is so you know, susceptible to disruption. And also the dinosaur stuff makes far better bait than just Girsu alone, because of the fact that it is so searchable, and you know, having ultimate conductor is just a whole nother, you know, piece of just like disruption within itself. So yeah, it's definitely cool. I do like this build a lot. It's a lot more streamlined is what kind of really what I have to say about this one. It's definitely a lot more streamlined than the numerous different possibilities that can go on with the build that I featured in the video, and also like the Girsu build that I featured previously to this. So next I'm going to show like what more of like a pure Nephthys deck would look like in my eyes if you don't want to try to do all this mix match bullshit. I will say that this one I think needs the most work, but also the pure build could use some work as well. So let's go on down to pure Nephthys. So this is what I think you should probably play if you're going to try to play pure. I think that this is the main Nephthys lineup. These guys here, the two chickens, of course all the searchability stuff, and then I think Baby Rock is kind of like an honorary Nephthys card, just because it's the only thing that is like sort of like a standalone card that just works very well with the Nephthys effects. And of course, you know, you have a lot of options here to get your standby phase floating through, you know, this pretty much this whole top row minus the two devotees, so that's cool as well. So you'll always be recurring cards. Honestly, I was thinking maybe even just bump up on these ones and even play Desires in this, but it's kind of like at that point you're like just raising the card count to play Desires. But you know, that being said, the engine itself is rather small. Of course, like Call By is not really part of it. It's over half the deck for sure, but basically what I mean is it leaves you all this room to play interaction. You know, these 9 here are kind of like the best you know, cards that fill the role of interaction right now. Gamma, Imperm, and then Drop, I think, are all the best. Nib is very good as well. A lot of things can just play around or through Nib now. And then, of course, Triple Tactics Talent is either going to, you know, get you there through your Conductor being stopped, through your Disciple being stopped, whatever. Because, you know, if you Ritual Summon this and they do happen to disrupt you in some way, we're drawing into like this Baby Rock, then we have play still. We can still do stuff. So that's something as well. But yeah, that within itself though, I think something like this would become a lot better once we have access to Diviner of the Heralds. Mostly because Diviner of the Heralds is going to let's actually pull that card up real quick. Of the Heralds. So if this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 fairy from your deck or extra deck to the grave. If you do, increase this card's level by level sent, yada yada, till the end of the turn. So that's really important, of course, because upon just normal or specialing this, we can just send Herald. So that's kind of amazing. It kind of, I'd probably still play extra foolish, but it's it's basically a better normal summon than Disciple. I would probably still max out on Disciple, but I would max out on this card as well. So, you know, this is amazing. But the really important part to me is if this card is tributed, you can special summon one level 2 or lower fairy monster from your hand or deck except Diviner. So pretty much what we're doing with this is we're going to chain block our Conductor. We're going to chain block our Devotee. So that's huge. I mean, because if you're going 2-1 this Conductor, you're pretty much almost guaranteed to resolve Nephthys combo. They can't gammy you, they can't ash you, you know, etc. Whatever else they might have. They're definitely always going to be imperming you, but that's fine, I suppose. Another thing about this card is it's a tuner, so that's crazy. But you know, the combo with this is you can go play one of this one, wherever it is, Trickstar and Nightshade or whatever it's called. Play one of this, right? And if it's sent to the graveyard as link material, you can special summon this card and then yada yada, banish it when it leaves the field, and then you play the link 1, wherever that may be. You play this guy. It's irrelevant, just takes a 2 or lower Trickstar, but it gives you basically a free link 2 worth material, so it can extend the combo even further. So I think honestly, once we do end up getting Diviner, you know, once we do end up getting this card, it's just, the deck becomes so much better. So that is something to note as well. I probably will play something more like this whenever we do have access to Diviner, but you know, that being said, I think that this has potential to be very good, because this is kind of just like all consistency, and then like I said, the just interaction. And of course, Gamma being level 2 is pretty relevant as well. And again, this is definitely not a real extra deck. This is just kind of like the main combo cards. No VFD in this list though, but who knows, by the time that Diviner is out, VFD might actually just be banned. So, yeah, whatever. I've said in other profiles though that you could just probably play the level 9s anyway and then use them for link fodder, because the fact that the True Kings just float so well with the Nephthys stuff is good too. Really, just down here in the sideboard, I just have some other options listed. Nine-Tailed Fox is a cool card. Some people might have seen this, some people might not have. I kind of just started delving through all of Edo Pro, seeing what would get triggered off destruction. So if this card is in the hand or graveyard, you tribute 2 monsters, summon this card, so that's fine, I guess. Only use that effect once per turn. It does piercing, so I guess. And then the last effect is if this card is destroyed, battle a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can summon 2 tokens. That effect is not once per turn, but you know, they're zombie level 2 fire tokens. But that's cool that blowing this up gets you 2 monsters, because you know that's that's IP right there. Actually, just popping just Nine-Tailed Fox for 1 Nephthys effect is IP. Only problem, of course, is it's not searchable. It's a level 6 zombie. Maybe I'm wrong. I just don't really see how it's searchable. This was something that I actually misread. This has to be destroyed on the field, so we're just going to ignore the 0 day. I know there was just a combo with that. These guys actually work too with Nephthys, because it's just that they're destroyed by battle or card effect. You can just summon any gadget from your deck, so you know they can like work with each other. The only issue that I have with this is like, if you blow one up and you special the other out of deck, it does nothing unless you have another guy in your hand. I mean, it's really any machine monster, which is cool because these guys could potentially work with Girsu, but I don't really know how I feel about that. It's pretty cool though. It is definitely an option. I never really tested this. It's just they're there, and of course Diviner will be something that will just solve all the problems of the deck. This guy, because they're all spellcasters, this is the wind. Boa Baboon, because it just summons 2 other guys for you. This is actually a way that you can play around Nibiru. If you normal summon Disciple and you pop Boa Baboon, go search Conductor, summon 2 Boa Baboons. You can then make what's that card called? Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. Another option you have is Root of the Wind Spirit. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the meme of Nephthys. That's really all I got here. We can kind of just move into some closing thoughts, I guess, because I didn't actually get any gameplay or replays for you, so just move on to the next segment, I guess. Alright, so that was a whole journey. If you made it this far, I actually commend you, because I couldn't even listen to myself talk this long while editing this video. I mean, really, so for closing thoughts on the deck, I mean, it's really powerful. It really is super explosive, but it's one of those decks that just requires too much for you to do stuff. like the initial investment to make plays is very high. It's like high activation cost, but the return is crazy. Like, you basically make this unbeatable end board, at least for the December 2020 format. I mean, I feel like there's really not a whole lot that can beat, you know, no special summoning, no effects, no attacks. I mean, of course, there's always stuff like Forbidden Droplet and Imperm and etc. But, you know, you were always losing that stuff anyway, no matter what deck you're playing. Like, every deck is losing to Forbidden Droplet. I'm sorry, that's just the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! But really, the deck needs a good comeback play. Not really in the form of like Devotee's Recursion or like Matriarch's Recursion is like way too slow. It needs to have a good comeback it needs to have a good recursion aspect to it, which it really just doesn't. You have to get too far to be able to get to the point where you can recover. And of course, like, playing through Nib is something that can be worked around, but not fairly easily. I mean, you know, playing through Interruption is definitely a problem for the deck. And, you know, I can definitely admit that, even as someone making a guide to the deck. Like, all in all, it's a casual deck. I mean, it really is. But that being said, it's just one of the funnest deck building experiences I've ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh! Was trying to figure this deck out. From trying the Gearsu engine, to trying dinos, to like trying to make a pure version work. You know, it's been a good ride, and I mean, this can probably be expanded on more. I mean, there's probably room for us to get more support for this deck, but really, as it stands, I think the list that I showed in the video is kind of as good as it's going to get. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone else has something else figured out that I'm just ignorant to, but I mean, honestly, such is Yu-Gi-Oh! So anyway, basically, to summarize the closing thoughts, the deck's not good enough. But that being said, it's really, really fun. So I wouldn't really say it's fun for your opponent because VFD, but actually performing the combos is cool. So thanks for watching, I guess. Like and subscribe if you haven't. That's really all I got for you. It was a long one, Sims. I figured this would be fun to make, so here we are. Have a good one.
Verity's ruler